Hello, this is Amy from Amy's Free Motion Quilting Adventures, and I'm shooting another video. I'm working on my sampler quilt. I'm doing some very fine detail work around some ruler work. This is my ruler work sampler I've been working on for a while, and I'm just sneaking around some of these ruler work lines that I've done here with my ruler toe and my rulers. I use this little ruler here for these rulered lines, and I'm just making them pop by going around the outside and filling that in with a nice dense paisley fill. I'm taking my time. No rewards for speedy quilting with this kind of scale unless you like the seam ripper. I'm stitching around. I'm going to finish up stitching around the outside of this ruler work. This is in a little sashing area, and then I'm going to continue shooting a video and just look at how I try to figure out how I'm going to do some of these designs. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do inside the area that I've done the ruler work around, so I thought I would shoot a video of that as I plan it out so that you guys can see. Those of you who follow my YouTube videos may not be aware of it, but I recently did a class with Craftsy on using rulers on your domestic sewing machine to guide your quilting, and it's been very well received. So why don't you click over to my blog, Amy's Free Motion Quilting Adventures. The website address is freemotionquiltingadventures.com, and you can find a link there to the class. Depending on when you go, you might even find a discount link to get the class on sale. It's probably not always going to be on sale, but I think you'll like it, especially if you're interested in doing more of this kind of ruler work style quilting. You don't have to be an expert at free motion to use rulers on your sewing machine. It can really help guide your quilting when you're still learning. And I'm up in my seam allowance. You can hear that different sound the needle makes as it goes through those seam allowances. And that's okay. When you hear that sound and you know you're not in a seam allowance, you better stop and check out the back side of your quilt and see what's going on. It's always good to learn the sound of your machine and be able to tell when something is sounding wrong so that you can check it and catch any problems early before you have to spend the whole evening watching Downtown Abbey and ripping out stitches. So on this quilt, there actually is no sashing, but because I wanted to create areas that would benefit from treatments like sashing and showing off some different sashing designs, I broke some of the blocks down into areas of basically a center block and sashing areas. So that's what you're seeing with this straight line here that I am not quilting into. This is essentially a cornerstone of the design, and I've just got this little section to do before I've gone all the way around this, I guess you would call it a faux sashing. And so I'm just going to sneak in over here, fill this in. I'm going to sneak back around this way, there at that pivot point, come back in here and fill in that little space there and in this corner. And that's something that's nice about this paisley design. You can kind of travel stitch up into an area when you need to change directions, or you don't want to go into an area and back out. You can go into it from the other side without having to do a bunch of trying to fit stitches in a place where it's just awkward. Alright, so there I have finished up that stitching, and I am going to go ahead and break my thread here. And I'm just pulling it away and then using my thread trimmer. And that gives me a nice long tail to tie my knots with. And I'll go ahead and do that on screen for you. Let's get it where you guys can see it. I'm telling you, pulling up your thread tail with a needle on camera, when the camera is sitting right between you and your sewing machine, is quite a trick. So I'm just doing an overhand loop, grabbing my needle and using it to get that knot right down at the surface of my quilt top. Let's make sure you guys can see that. Stick that needle back into the top and run it. I have to get my hand underneath it here. Run it in between the two fabrics and the batting. Doesn't matter where in that sandwich it is, just as long as it is inside the sandwich. The denser the stitching, the harder it is to get it in there. And I'm using that finger underneath the quilt to make sure that I'm not just running it underneath the whole entire quilt. And this is a self-threading needle. It's got a slit in the top, so you just pop the threads in there, pull that needle. Now it's going to be hard for me to pull, so I'm just going to reach over here and get my quilting gloves. These are Machinger quilting gloves, and that gives me a better grip on my needle, so I can pull it through. And I just give it a nice little tug, and you can feel that little pop of the thread getting in there. And I grab my scissors. I usually have them a little closer. There they are. And these are curved scissors, so I can get close to my quilt top and cut my threads without cutting my quilt top. Love them. So, you can see here, I've stitched all the way around. Let's see if I can back the camera off just a little bit without getting out of focus. And so I've done this little frame around this block here. This is my center block. This is my frame. I've used the Quilted Pineapple BFF ruler. It's just a little tiny guy. It's great for using on a domestic machine. And that's what I used to make this little frame. Echoed it. So I've got the two lines. I haven't quite figured out what I want to do here. I don't know if I want to do ruler work or do some more of this paisley. I've already got a lot going on in this block. We've got that paisley filler in here. This is a Celtic square design. We've got curved cross hatching in here. So I don't want it to be too busy. So I'm going to pull over one of my favorite new little marking gizmos. And this is one of those air erasable purple pens, but it's got a very fine tip on it. And on the other end, this white is an eraser for the purple pen. It's awesome. It works on the blue pens too, but it's nice and handy to have it this way. So I know I don't want to do this dense cross hatching here. I know I don't want to do that. That's just going to look weird. It'll blend into here. It'll be a strange shape. So do I want to do something a little thicker? Maybe just a little different? Maybe just a little thin line of stitching? And so I'm just using my ruler right now. Let's see if I can draw with my left hand. So I've got the camera in the way. And just see if I want to do something like that. I could also just echo the shape and turn it right here at this point. I don't know. I really think with all this cross hatching, I don't really want to do much here. What I could do is get my little straight ruler. Find that. And to keep it from running into this cross hatching, I could do a straight line. Let me pop my foot up so it's not in the way. And I can do a straight line across here. And put in another set of lines. I don't know. Still not sure about that. I think maybe if I was going to do it over again, this echoed line here, I might have stopped and done the straight line across so that it was like a D shape around here. So I could go in here and fill this little channel in with pebbles, which is kind of cool. Very time intensive, but cool. Very time intensive, but again, cool. I could go ahead and do the paisley fill in here. I don't know. But this is how I kind of figure out what I want to do. Oh, you guys couldn't even see that. I had it off the screen. Sorry about that. So, I don't know. I really think probably what I'm going to go ahead and do is just do some more of this paisley fill. And that will just show off this little frame design here much better. If I do the cross hatching, it's going to blend into this stuff. And I just don't really want to take away from that. I could also do, where's my little ruler? The same spacing. Get that in there. I'm using the etched lines on this ruler to line up with my stitching. And I'm just going ahead and crossing them. Like I said, I may not go out here. I may just keep it parallel. But at least that way I've got my corner marked here. And if I want to go out here, I can. But it's always good to have that little pivot point marked so that you're not guessing where to pivot. You know you're coming along this line, but you don't want to have to guess where along this line I'm going to have to turn. So I hope that gives you a good idea of what I'm going to do, how I figure out this stuff. And I'm just going to kind of go back in here and erase this because it's getting a little busy. It's kind of hard to see what it is I truly intend to do. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure. Sorry for sticking my arm across there. Not really sure yet what I want to do. I really think I'm leaning towards just filling it in with the paisley. I'd like to do something a little more fancy, but you get it where it's too busy and your eyes just can't settle on it, and then the intricacy of it is just wasted. You need a spot for your eye to rest. But I like being able to erase my extra lines so it doesn't, one, confuse me when I'm stitching, and two, it's just easier to imagine what I'm going to do next. So I got most of it. So, put my lids on there. I don't know. What should I do there? If I go ahead and test it with this paisley and I don't like it, that is going to be a mess of work to take away, and I really don't want to do that either. Let's see. Looking at the overall block, I think I'm just going to go ahead and put that paisley in there. That's what I'm going to do. So, I'm going to quilt this out. I'll let y'all keep watching, and then we'll take a look and see if that's what I should have done. Sometimes it's hard to know exactly what you want to do until you do it. And that's okay. It's a great creative exercise for the brain. And a little stitch ripping won't kill us. We hate to do it, but it won't kill us. I did not stitch in place there to secure my threads. I like using trilobal polyester thread. It's got a nice sheen and it's kind of slick. And I've just found that I prefer to tie off my ends and bury them. I know that's a lot of extra work, but that's what I like to do. I like to vary the shape and direction of my paisleys a little bit, so it's a little more interesting. Sometimes you can end up with them all very directional. You can see they're all coming from this direction generally because this is where I started, and that's okay with me. But I don't like them to all be exactly looking like little fish in a school, all swimming exactly in the same direction. So here, I'll pull this guy over here. He looks like he's kind of turning around. And you see I'm not stitching too fast. I'm just taking my time. If you want to stitch fast, that's perfectly okay. I like to have control over it. Helps me keep my stitches more even. And this is teeny tiny little stitching here. There's my last paisley. Just kind of scooting around there. Let's see, let's fill in this little spot here with just a little tiny line. And popping up my needle, raising my foot. Remember, you do not want to drop your needle with that foot up. I have a knee lever on my machine. This is a Janome 8200. So it's got a nice knee lift, so I can lift my presser foot without having to fish around here. It is wonderful. Absolutely love my knee lift. It's like having an extra hand. Takes a little getting used to, but once you're used to it, you'll love it. Now, if I was going to continue quilting and I wasn't quilting on video, I could have just snuck out of here, crossed in this ditch line, come over here and started stitching. I'm just going to show you how I tie those threads off again. And I'm trying to get in the habit of tying them and burying them as I go. I got into the habit of just leaving them all until I was done and going back. And I swear they have a way of multiplying on you when you do that. You end up with so many thread tails to tie off at the end, so I'm trying to get better at tying them and burying them as I go. I got my thread snips there. Pull those off. And there. I like that. That shows off this line of ruler work really well without getting it too busy and just too busy. You get it too busy, you can't see the lines as nice. And you see all those purple marks have disappeared already, which is awesome. Anyway, once again, this is Amy from Amy's Free Motion Quilting Adventures. I hope you enjoyed this video. Come over to the blog at freemotionquiltingadventures.com. Check out all my tips. Subscribe to this channel. Get all the videos. Check out my craftsy class. It's called Quilting with Rulers on a Home Machine, and learn more about using these rulers. I'm also opening up an online store to sell all these rulers that I love. You really can't get a nice variety of rulers out there from different manufacturers, so I'm going to be selling all the rulers that I love, including this little guy and his big brothers or sisters, and straight rulers, curved rulers, all kinds of things across several different manufacturers. It'll be about the only place you can get a wide variety of rulers and reviews from someone who actually uses these rulers on their sewing machine. So I know there's a lot of long armers out there using rulers, but it's fairly new on a sewing machine. It's a great technique. That shop address that I'll be using is amysquiltingadventures.com. So check it out. Hope you enjoyed watching. Bye-bye.